Together we'll see who dies and survives, circled around a sacred fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure called the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Prepare the cannons because today we're reading Chapter 11, Clarisse Blows Everything Up. In this chapter, Clarisse takes Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson prisoner. Grover is introduced to magical sheep on a beautiful island of absolute terror. And we finally enter the Sea of Monsters.
We made it, folks. We made it.
We made it. The Thing. They said The Thing.
Right. They said the name of the movie. In this case,
Roll
the book.
credits.
So we begin this chapter with everyone on the ship with Clarisse.
Yes.
And Clarisse informing them that they're in a lot of trouble, which is the good reminder, I think, to the reader that, like, Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson left Camp Half-Blood before Clarisse had even left for said quest, and that the threat of permanent expulsion from camp is still reigning true. And so we're kind of reminded of that at the top of the chapter, of like where our three heroes stand in relation to camp because of Tantalus and all of that.
Absolutely.
And because it's at the top of the chapter, I do think we can address the Confederate soldiers of it all straight out the gate, because it is pretty much straight out the gate of this chapter.
It's like the setting of the entire chapter.
Yes.
We are on a ship full of Confederate soldiers.
Yeah, it's the painful backdrop to this chapter. And so they get a tour from Clarisse of this ship, and there's interesting notes because they interact with Confederate soldiers, and we find out that, according to Percy, they approved of Annabeth because she told them she was from Virginia. They were interested in me too because my name was Jackson, like the Southern general, but then I ruined it by telling them I was from New York, and they hissed and muttered curses about Yankees. And what I would just like to note about this is, like, the giant things that are going unsaid and the like default to whiteness of this all, because they don't approve of Annabeth because she's from Virginia. They approve of Annabeth because she's white, although it's not ever explicitly stated in the text that she's white. The default in these books is whiteness, if not stated otherwise. And so they would not like Annabeth nor approve of her were she not white. And that is actually the bigger thing. And that is, like, the giant piece that is going unsaid in all of this is, like, all of their ability to, like, walk on a boat full of Confederate soldiers and not be threatened by the soldiers, not be fearful fundamentally of them, is because in the book all of these characters are white,
including
because
Clarisse.
That was the default. Yes, exactly. And all of that is going unsaid and unaddressed, right? And the reality of the fact that these being Confederate soldiers were meaning that in the Civil War they were fighting to keep slavery, the system of slavery, the enslavement of other human beings. They were fighting to keep that in place, and that is the reality of who these soldiers are on this boat and, like, what their beliefs are. And none of that is, like, addressed really at all in this book.
The word slavery is never mentioned.
No.
And the only positioning that the chapter gives it is that these soldiers were on the losing side of a war and not, like, what they were fighting for that they lost about.
Right.
So, yes, I think that those two layers, there's the backdrop of, like, the reality of the Confederacy fighting to maintain the enslavement of Black people, and the fact that our characters are defaulting as white, like you said, those two pieces just go completely unaddressed and aren't even part of the dialogue or thought process for any of the characters. So yeah, I think it's important to name that as we go through this chapter, because then we're going to be talking about a lot of other types of like interpersonal dynamics and then like big Greek monster encounters. But one thing, you know, I said before we started is like, if Charles Beckendorf were on this ship, I think we'd have a very different story. Yes. And the fact that that's not like acknowledged or discussed here at all is definitely a problem.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, none of the characters are ever having a moment where they're going, oh, the reason my life is not in danger being aboard this vessel is because, again, in their depiction of the books, they are white. And I keep on making that distinction because the casting in the TV show is different, which I love that. Don't get me wrong. Love those casting choices. I think they're 10 out of 10. I have not watched season 2 of the show, so I don't know the choices that they decided to make in like regards to this for the
these
show.
Scenes that we should probably say that. Yes, we do.
So we can only speak, again, we're talking about the books, so we can only speak to that. Just want to clarify that for everyone. And the other reason why I felt it was important to talk about this is because, I mean, even by the time I was in high school, which was the years of 2011 to 2015, I was taught that the correct answer on my AP history test for why the Civil War was fought was states' rights, that was the correct answer that I had to select. And so, and it's not states' rights, it's slavery. That was why the Civil War was fought.
Yeah, it's not states' rights. It's not like the other one that you get taught is like money. Like,
which are all ways of just erasing history and couching it in things that are like palatable and also just like fundamentally untrue
and palatable to white people, I guess. Specifically, it's important to say.
Exactly. And I think it's just an important thing to keep in mind because unfortunately our government is trying to erase that reality from history books, and that's a really, really bad thing that's happening. And so
I think it's something that we have talked about before, just like when you are an author and you have you're writing from your perspective and from your positioning, and then if you're writing from a place of privilege, there's a lot that you might miss. So just kind of calling back to, like, I think even just in the last chapter, there are references to Native Americans, and we were just saying, like, when you're writing, it is good to have sensitivity readers. It is good to co-write with other people, and it's just good to, like, be mindful of what you don't know. And it doesn't mean that you can't include themes or characters that are outside of your perspective, but there are responsible ways to do that, with people who have lived experience, and that is a really important part of writing, ideally for diverse audiences. So, it's with books like this that we grew up with and we love and we have a long history with. I think we've said from the beginning of this podcast that it's just important to be able to sit in the both and of, like, I can both love this book series and these characters, and I can see the ways in which it's not handling history in a complete way that, like, acknowledges something like slavery, and that is a miss. I think it can be both and. But whenever it is the whole context of a chapter like it is here, I just think we want to, like, name it, right? Do the thing the book's not doing and name it and have a conversation about it. We can get into comments and have a conversation about it if we want to too. But, like, as we're going through and we're talking about all the different character dynamics here, that is the underlying unspoken backdrop, as you called it. That's important just to have in mind. Tyson, interestingly, is terrified of the soldiers.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, same. He insists on holding Annabeth's hand. I think this is really interesting because she doesn't look thrilled about it, but she also, it doesn't say that she takes her hand away.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was kind of like, between this and like the end of this chapter, we're really starting to show some little bits of progress, I think, around Annabeth and Tyson and Percy and Tyson.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think like we're seeing the results of like enough time, I think potentially being spent together, and like maybe I think the impacts of Annabeth experiencing Tyson as being helpful and
Yes.
like
Saving
and
their
that's
butts all the time.
yes, and I think that's starting to like seep in a little bit, and like Annabeth is like I think starting to maybe process that,
Yeah.
and that Tyson is not the threat to her that her past experience
Yes, would tell her that he
was.
has to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do have to say, so they are escorted to dinner, and I just love that in the middle of all of this, we are just still middle schoolers, because what we are eating on this giant
Yeah.
ship on a table set with white linen and china is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, potato chips, and Dr. Pepper. And
Yeah.
I just, that's very Percy Jackson to have
Yes.
this extreme contrast.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And then we get a little bit of a conversation between the four of them, Clarisse, Percy,
Yes.
Annabeth, and Tyson, where Clarisse is informing the group that they've been expelled for eternity, and Mr. D has thrown in his threats as to what he'll do.
Which
To
again
the
is
gang.
turn into animal and kill you.
Yeah.
Like I just noted it again. Like you
I
pointed
know.
that out at one point, that it's
Yeah.
always, I will turn you into an animal and then you will die. And here
Yep.
it's squirrels. And I'm like,
Yep.
it just, until the dying part, the squirrel part doesn't sound as bad,
Right,
as some of the
right.
other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we discover how Clarisse procured the ship. So her
Yes.
father gave it to her. She asked for help. And this is where we get the explanation that the spirits on the losing side of every war owe a tribute to Ares. That's their curse for being defeated. And so she prayed to her father for naval transport. He provided the ship and the
Yes.
accompanying Confederate soldiers.
And I thought it was really interesting because when Percy gets help from his dad and Hermes tells him his dad will give him help, you kind of noted, when do they need to give an offering or pray versus
Yes.
not, kind of thing.
Right,
So I don't know if, we don't know if Clarisse provided an offering here, but it does say that she prayed to her dad, Ares. So
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting to just keep noticing when that comes up.
Yes. And I did, I was like, there are a number of, wars that were fought with navies where there was a
Yeah.
losing side that had a navy. And so just the Ares, what's the thought process behind who you pick to send to your children to aid them? Again, just for the backdrop of it being Confederate soldiers. It's like
Yep.
the Confederacy, the Civil War is not the only war, even in the, like...
Even
that
in
was-
the Northern Americas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine that, I don't know, Ares isn't like restricted. Like he could be
No.
pulling from any time period.
It probably could be. I think it's also an interesting choice because we learned that it's actually not the right ship to go into the Sea of Monsters.
Yeah.
Which is very clearly the place the quest needs to go.
Right.
So I think that's really interesting too. Like,
Yeah.
in what ways is Ares helping Clarisse or like setting her up to fail in some ways?
Yeah. Which I think I want to like put a pin in that for when we get
Totally.
to
Yes.
his conversation with Clarisse, because I think that's a great thing for us to return to
Agreed.
when we get to that point. Yeah, we get some kind of threats from Clarisse where basically she is communicating that like she has complete command over these soldiers. They'll do anything that she tells them to. So she's kind of doing a little power play of like making sure Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson feel like they're reminded that they're not the ones with power on this vessel, that she very much is. And then the gang kind of informs Clarisse of Luke, the cruise ship. She thinks she can blow up a cruise ship. I'm like, ma'am, do you realize
Right.
again the size of a cruise ship in comparison?
Yeah.
to what the ship that you have anyways. Um but we also get a sense here for the first time of like Clarisse's need to be on this quest, like her saying
Mm-hmm.
that finally she gets to be the one to be the hero and that they won't steal this chance from her. And we also find out because Percy asks, like, where are the other campers? Like, you're allowed to take two with you, right? And
Yep.
she starts by saying they didn't, and then she like interrupts herself kind of and says that she let them stay behind. So we're kind of learning that it seems like other people didn't want to go on this quest with
Yeah.
Clarisse.
Which is kind of interesting given the campers' reactions to her getting the quest, especially the
I know.
Ares cabin. Kind of makes you wonder what happened
Yes.
after that night, you know?
I know.
And there is something we learned that, like, the Oracle said something to Clarisse
Yes.
that seems to have to do with getting help from Percy and Annabeth on the quest.
Slash also like her ability to complete the
Mm-hmm.
quest. And so
Alone, yeah.
yeah. So I wonder if maybe in after her getting the prophecy from the Oracle, if maybe that
That's what I'm wondering. Kind of
like
turn people off of
changed.
it.
Yes, yeah, and meant that like people didn't want to
Or
go.
this goes back to like prophecies, right?
Yeah,
So if I don't remember how much we learn about this prophecy and the wording in it, but if
me
it
neither.
turns out that Percy and Annabeth are destined to be the other two
Mm-hmm.
campers on the quest with Clarisse, then it's almost like, did other people not go because the prophecy basically states that it turns out this way, or because other people don't go, it turns out the way it turns out that
Yeah,
aligns with the prophecy. You know, it's always
right.
tricky with prophecies to know like how
Yes.
much they're shaping the future versus informing an outcome that has many different ways to get there, you know?
Yeah, that free will versus fate. It like it
Yes.
reminds me of in Infinity War when Doctor
Uh-huh.
Strange is like there's a
Yes.
million possibilities but like one where we win. And you
Right.
know like and if prophecies work in a similar way where it's like there are a million ways to reach an end destination and prophecies are vague and yet somehow so specific enough to allow for all of those many possibilities, or
Yeah.
if it is more fated.
Well, and are
And
there multiples where you can win or not? Like
right,
that's an
yes,
important question.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I do think that we are learning, and we learned this more when Clarice talks to her dad, but she is getting pulled in different directions in terms of how
yeah.
she feels about this, right? But I did like this moment where she's like, this is my quest. Finally, I get to be the hero. And I'm like, we've been saying
Mm-hmm.
this. You are.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
are the hero
yeah.
of this book. Like, we've had this conversation multiple times, Clarice. Don't
Yes,
worry.
yeah.
So I like that she's like reaffirming that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that it is her quest. But clearly there's something with the Oracle that is pointing to how she will need help on this quest. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can even, like, before we even have the moment where Percy eavesdrops on her conversation with Ares, even in her dialogue in this scene with them, you can tell, like, how much pressure she is feeling. And,
Yeah.
like, and this quest is not like Percy had the pressure of like the world needs to be saved, but he didn't. Like Clarisse is under particular types of
Yes.
pressure that are different to the type of pressure that Percy was under in The Lightning Thief. And to your point of like she is being pulled by many different people in many different directions and they're all
Mm-hmm.
wanting something different from her. Like Ares wants something from her, Tantalus wants something from her. I think she wants something from herself in regards to this quest also, and like I think she does genuinely want to save Camp Half-Blood. You
Yeah,
know,
for
so
sure, for sure. She does.
there's so much going on for her.
Yeah, I think actually in that sense, this chapter title, chapter ending is actually a really good metaphor for all of the pressure that Clarice is feeling
Totally,
and how she
yes.
is blowing up. Like, I
Yeah,
actually think
yeah.
that it parallels really nicely
Yeah.
the theme of the chapter.
That's true. That's a great point. And so we end this interaction with Clarisse telling them, Annabeth asking if they're prisoners, and Clarisse saying that they're guests for now. But again, the undertone to this is not really. You're kind of essentially her prisoners, pretty much, like you said in your chapter summary. And then we get to another dream, because they all go below deck to their hammocks, go to sleep, and Percy reunites via dream with Grover. Yes. And it's like a longer kind of section of the chapter, but basically the summary of the dream is that Percy sees Polyphemus kind of catches Grover unraveling the yarn, the wool, and Polyphemus basically like takes Grover to show him his like solve for it. And thankfully Polyphemus just thinks that Grover is like not a good
is bad at weaving.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, my poor wife is bad at weaving, so I will help you.
Right. Yeah. And he's not suspicious, but like on the way we see like he's just kind of got sheep themed memorabilia and stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
The guy loves his sheep. The Cyclops loves his sheep.
He does.
He's a big fan. And and
sheep
the
stand.
Yes, the sheep stand indeed. The couple of like really big things that we get out of the stream are, one, we actually see the island because Grover sees the island. So we get a full description of what it looks like. So Percy basically gets a kind of like, hey, this is your destination. This is how you know you've arrived. Like, here's what you're going to be navigating. The second thing we get is confirmation of the Golden Fleece. Yes, Grover sees it. Percy sees it. We see it on the island. It's so powerful that Percy can feel its power even via this empathy link, like where he's, which I also, it's kind of funny because Grover can like kind of like see Percy and know that he's there. So I'm like, is Percy kind of like a ghost that only Grover can see?
Right.
In these
I know
moments?
there is a moment where Grover is like looking directly at Percy, and I'm like, oh, like, do you not just sense him? You see him? Because, you know, Percy's seeing Grover, but Percy's also, like, sleeping, and Grover's not sleeping. So, I don't know. Does he just, like, show up like a floating head's there? So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the two other things we get are, thing number 3 is we get an actual hard deadline, because Polyphemus has this, magic spinning wheel that means that the wool cannot be unraveled, and so problem solved. The wedding train will be finished by tomorrow.
I have a question.
Yes.
I thought it was that the sheep's wool is magic and cannot be unraveled, and it's the same spinning wheel.
Yes.
What I thought was really, really interesting that, you know, leaves me with a million questions is when the sheeps are described, their wool is glinting strangely like copper and silver coins. And it seems like the sheep are all magic, like the fleece, but they're all copper and silver wool, and the fleece is the only one that's gold. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it seems like they are other metals, and that they are like special magic sheep, and then the wool that he gets from them is therefore magic.
That makes sense.
That's how I understood it. But I was just like fascinated by these magic sheep. They have like magical wool.
That makes sense. I had always interpreted that like the spinning wheel was the thing that was magic.
I see.
But that makes way more sense for the being
he just
unraveled.
says the spinning wheel, so I think it's the same one Grover's been working on. But that the wool...
No, you're right. You're right.
Because
the wool itself is magic.
Most sheep don't glint like copper and silver coins.
No. Well, and these are the sheep, if my memory serves me correctly, these are the ones where they have to like ride under, and aren't they like carnivorous sheep or something? They have
like
to ride under
sheep.
them. Yeah, so their wool being magic, maybe inherently, but also maybe just because the Golden Fleece is here, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we get the deadline that because the wool cannot be unraveled, the wedding train will be finished by tomorrow. So, like,
yeah, tomorrow's
Percy...
we keep having Grover's, like, 5 days, 7 days, you know, like,
Yeah.
now it is tomorrow.
Yes. So we have a hard and fast deadline. And then the fourth, like, piece of information that's very crucial that we learned from this dream is Grover very helpfully, under the guise of, like, oh no, I'm worried about my protection, asks, like, but couldn't anyone attack the island? Like, what's keeping me safe? And Polyphemus doesn't, like, reveal all his cards, but just references having a state-of-the-art security system, and that whoever attacks the island would have to get through his pets. And we don't get anything more specific than that, but that is so much information, just, like, where the island is, what it looks like, the fact that there's, like, that big chasm, and there's a rope bridge, and, like, this is what the, you know, hill looks like, this is the view out from, like, the boulder that Polyphemus opens in order for Grover to see out. Like, Percy gets so much direction and clarity
for when he
on,
finally
like,
gets there.
Exactly. And that incredibly important confirmation that the Golden Fleece is there. And Grover and the Fleece are in the same place.
Which, in a sense, is good. In another sense, we only have 1 day to get there, so that doesn't feel so good. But at least we're headed, you know, the same place holds the two things we really, really need to get on this unofficial quest that has merged with the official quest for now. Yeah, I think that's good. And the other thing that is really interesting is just we get the... you mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate, like, the effects of the Golden Fleece on the island, that we really get a description of, like, how luscious and beautiful and flower-filled and, you know, how Percy understands why satyrs could think it was Pan, that it's so amazing. And it just, when we're thinking about the effect we want it to have on Talia and all of that, I just think it's, like, really good that we get an understanding of what the fleece can do. Like, what does the world look like when it has the fleece nearby? And then Polyphemus specifically mentions the other thing that does, which is a natural trap for satyrs, and so he always gets to eat yummy satyrs. So that's, you know, we get to kind of, like, see the effect and then understand the secondary effect of that.
That made me have a question. I was thinking ahead to Labyrinth when we actually meet Pan, and like, could the Golden Fleece have kept Pan around? Like, would it have been strong enough? Like, if Pan had in that sanctuary space been able to have the Golden Fleece, you know, like,
my guess is that the way Pan would answer that, based on what he says, is that the Golden Fleece could keep him present, but it wouldn't be, its magic is not powerful enough to counteract all of the damage that humans have done. And what is the point of Pan, the symbol, the god, being in existence if what he stands for can't be?
That's true.
So I would guess it would be like, yes, comma, but
but kind of like, there's nothing for me to stick around for, so I will still be,
like, that is not the way of things. You know,
that is not the way.
That is not the way.
Fun little Mandalorian reference.
Little Mando. Little Mando right on there. But we don't get to learn anything else about Grover because alarm bells are ringing throughout the ship. That is what Percy wakes up to. And we hear the captain calling, and the captain is kind of an important character. Because he talks to Clarisse, and he is truly, like, in charge of the ship and is giving his opinion, and, you know, so he's got a big role here. And first we learn that Clarisse seems to be not present. Like, we don't know where she is, which we will find out very soon. And he lets Percy know, he says the thing, that they are approaching the entrance to the one, the only Sea of Monsters. So Percy goes up to where everyone is, like, everyone's running around, there's alarms going off, it's kind of chaotic. But he stopped with this feeling that is a familiar feeling that feels like he just wants to, like, fight someone real quick. And whenever Percy feels this feeling, we know that means Aries in the house. And so we overhear a conversation between Aries and Clarisse. And in this conversation, he is being just his most Aries, frustrating, bullying,
Horrible.
terrible self.
He's truly being just an awful father. I just want to take a second to like read, just real quick, some of the things that he says to his literal child, his daughter. He says things like, "You don't want to see me mad, do you?" Which is never something you want to hear from anyone, ever, much less like your parent who's supposed to love and care for you, regardless of whether they're God or not. He tells Clarisse that she's pathetic and that he should have let one of his sons take this quest. And we do find out that Clarisse asked Aries for this quest. But he, again, kind of leaves her with some threats of, like, if she doesn't succeed, there's just kind of vague.
Or
like,
even if she lets Slimeball Jackson kid steal it from you. So, like, he has this animosity with Percy, also super mature for God to have such an animosity with a child.
Beef with a 13-year-old.
That's a problem, because there's, like, a moment here later where Clarisse, like, she wants to ask for help. Like, because the Oracle has told her clearly something that means that she needs to not do this on her own. And Aries is just, like, berating her with this idea of, like, you have to succeed. You have to do it on your own. I gave you a ship that's not even the right ship for the waters you're going to enter, but I'm still expecting you to do this all by yourself. And I think, you know, we haven't talked about, like, abusive parents in a while, because fortunately Gabe is no longer with us. Hallelujah.
Resting, hopefully not in peace.
Resting, hopefully in eternal torment. But I do think that this is just, like, we talk so much about intergenerational trauma on the pod and the Olympian family, but I think that this is such a good example of the ways in which, even just the ways that Clarisse was talking to Percy earlier in the book, or in the chapter rather, you've got, like, all of this verbal and emotional abuse coming from Aries to Clarisse, and
clearly physical / the threat of physical, because he raises, he ends with, "and if you don't," he raises his fist and Clarisse flinches. Even though he's a figure in the steam, like, it doesn't even seem like he's, like, corporeally there.
And the sad thing is, like, a lot of the time that means that he's already hit her in the past, like, if she's flinching like that. It's
a full parallel to Sally.
It is.
And Gabe, and that moment where Percy realizes Gabe has hit my mom.
Yep. So I think that, you know, like, we talk about this too, just because someone has experienced hurt doesn't mean it's okay if they hurt other people. And you're seeing the effect of verbal and emotional abuse from Aries, Clarisse's father, toward her, in how it manifests with how she treats other people in such a bullying and controlling way that's, like, perpetuating that dynamic.
It reads to me very much as, because everyone responds to experiences like this differently, right? And to me, this feels like a really clear example of, like, Aries has power over Clarisse and is exerting it in an abusive way. Clarisse has no power and feels that she has no power in that dynamic. And so in order to feel that she has any power and control over her life, she turns to the people she can exert power over and exerts that power in a bullying manner in order to feel some sense of power herself.
Absolutely.
And it feels like a very clear example of that. And, like, exactly like you said, like, it doesn't excuse how Clarisse bullies Percy, and I can only guess and assume probably has bullied other kids at camp, like, in all likelihood. It's more so the kind of understanding of what's going on internally for her as to why she would be behaving in this way towards other kids.
Absolutely. And I also think that it's like a glimpse the reader gets. It's a glimpse that Percy gets. And I think just in general, it continues the theme of this book of being pretty dark and
Yes.
we are exploring a lot of dark themes, and this is yet another theme that we're exploring that is quite dark.
And to add to, like, this is the book where we're starting to explore why it is that campers are turning away from the gods and joining Kronos. And I think seeing this example of, because while like Poseidon has been an absent father for Percy, completely absent, and that's like neglect, right? Which is its own,
that's painful.
Deal. And at the same time, in the brief interaction he did have with Poseidon, like, it was like neutral / maybe left Percy with, I think, a slight net positive over like negative. And so I think this,
it wasn't abusive, like straight up abusive, the way that this relationship that he's witnessing, that he has experience with Gabe in the past, is.
And Annabeth has only like sung Athena's praises, basically. And we know that Luke doesn't like Hermes, but we don't really fully understand the extent of it yet.
And Hermes like has shown from his perspective to Percy that like he really cares about Luke. And has helped Percy.
And so even though Clarisse herself never turns to Kronos and never joins forces with him, I think the introduction, us learning more about her, in particular this dynamic in the book where we're learning about Kronos is recruiting campers and half-bloods, and how is he doing that? It's like, well, when your godly parent is treating you this way, I get it.
Absolutely. It's like, if this is my treatment by the gods, then can the Titans really be that much worse? Right? Like, anything would be better than this. It would be natural to potentially have that thought process. Clarisse is interestingly, and I think there is this sort of like military-esque thinking that Clarisse and Annabeth both have, is like buying into the systems, because they're both children of parents of war. So I think there's a little bit of that like system piece there that Clarisse doesn't, turn and have the same pull that some of the other campers who feel resentment do. And the other thing that I think is worth noting within that is just the abuse dynamic, like the power and control dynamic, where I think Clarisse is also experiencing the like parental abuse piece of just wanting to please her dad, even with this happening. And I think that's like a key part of it, that it's not making her, like Luke, question her father. It's actually making her want to obey even more. And buy into like his control and fear that he's instilling.
It is, I think, and we, I think, could make actually like a whole separate video on this, but I think the relationship that is formed between Ares and Clarisse, I think, actually is the true definition of a trauma bond. Like, the internet uses that incorrectly, but that came out of domestic violence work. And I think what we are seeing here is an example of what a trauma bond looks like between a parent and a child when the parent is abusing their child. Because that need, like, Clarisse, like, part of the pull is Clarisse is like needing to impress her dad, needing to like complete this for him, despite the fact that he is calling her pathetic, blatant misogyny, and saying that he should have let one of his sons take the quest, saying that she's lesser than because she's a girl. Like, the physical violence that has clearly occurred because he made the threat of it and she flinched, like it had happened before. Like, that, I think a whole separate, like, to truly, because the threat of physical
violence is still an example of abuse, like whether or not we're seeing it happen here. So I think a very strong case could be made that, like, that is the relationship dynamic that we're seeing occurring here, that might between Ares and Clarisse. For sure. So I think in this very, very brief, I mean, this is barely over a page interaction, we really get a important glimpse into what Clarisse is going through and a bit of the lay of the land of like her quest. So she may be the hero in this story, but she is not having a good time as the hero, right? Like, she is not being set up well. She's not being supported well. And that's her perspective as the hero leading this quest, isolated by herself. And that's another key thing that abusers do, is isolate people. And so even the way that he's telling her not to work with Percy and Annabeth is just like another tactic of keeping somebody isolated so that, you know, they'll be more susceptible to manipulation and abuse. So that's like another piece of it.
And not giving her an inadequate boat.
Yes.
Because, like, Percy said, hey, Dad, can you give me some help? And Poseidon sent Hippocampi, one perfectly sized for Tyson. They were the perfect creature to get them very quickly to the cruise ship. Like, whereas Ares is telling Clarisse she's pathetic, she's not enough, she can't do this, she can't ask anyone for help. And then he is not even giving her the correct tools that she needs in order to sail the sea of monsters, which is literally like a
self-fulfilling,
he's like ensuring that Clarisse doesn't feel like she's anything other than pathetic and not capable, and like she is ill-fitted and like unsuited for this quest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I don't remember if we ever get Percy having a moment of being like, oh, I was really wrong, but it's just reminding me back, making me think back to the part earlier in the book where Percy's like, Clarisse is as likely to succeed in this quest as, like, I can't remember what something he says, but it's basically like, when pigs fly is when Clarisse will succeed at this quest. And I do, like, when he comes back, he like doesn't, he like tries not to look at Clarisse, and he clearly like, he doesn't know, I don't think, fully like how to process this. And like I do just could want to point out that, like, Percy's belief that Clarisse is completely incapable of doing this quest is literally what Ares is telling her.
Yeah, it's interesting if, like, Percy confronts the fact that he basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't think he does, but that is sort of the theme of Percy in this book, too.
Yeah.
Is, like, not confronting his biases and, like, issues that he has.
Yeah.
And that affecting him and everyone around him. But, yeah, so he reunites with Annabeth. Like, he's trying to keep moving through the ship, because this was kind of like a little stop-off moment, important stop-off moment. But Annabeth asks him what's wrong and asks if it's another dream, and it's like, you know, he nods, but it's like, what's wrong is not just Grover. Like, it's this interaction he just saw with Clarisse and Ares, too. And he says that it bothered him, like, almost as much as Grover. Which it should. Like, in some ways, like, he really should see himself in Clarisse in this moment, given what he experienced with Gabe. And it should create cognitive dissonance that, like, he has said something more similar to Ares than to Clarisse, right?
Yeah.
In terms of, what he said about her earlier. So they are going full steam ahead. And Clarisse, unlike Percy, knows where she's going. Because we finally find something that was not on the test that we're about to get to. Because Percy does not know about it. So his nautical sense does tell him that they're somewhere off the coast of northern Florida. So he still has this, like, power online, which is very cool. And we know that we have this, like, get to Florida, turn left thing that we were told earlier.
Right.
So we're like, okay, we're getting closer to where we're told this is maybe going to be happening. But also that they have traveled farther overnight than a ship normally would be able to.
Yes.
And the engine is groaning, and Tyson is also still in touch with his powers over mechanical stuff, which is, like, so impressive. Because he specifically says, too much strain on the pistons, not meant for deep water. And that's where we learn that Ares has given Clarisse a ship that is not up for the task, and that's like, super problematic. But this is also another moment where it's like, if people just listened to Tyson, like, the first time he said something, I think that, like, things would just go better. They'd be more likely to go better. So we don't take an immediate action. It makes Percy nervous, but it's not like they then are like, okay, let's go check that out, like, right away. Or discuss, the type of ship. And then they're seeing in front of them, essentially the entrance to the Sea of Monsters. We have a huge mass of rocks rising out of the sea, an island with cliffs at least 100 feet tall, which is very tall. And then we have a half mile south of that, another patch of darkness with a storm brewing. And I particularly like the description that the sky and sea boiled together in a roaring
Yeah.
mass. I like that.
Yeah.
We haven't had like one of those we've done in a while of like, ooh, other
Yeah.
than like we've been noticing more about like faces, but I
Mm-hmm.
think this was like a good weather description.
Absolutely.
Annabeth is thinking maybe it's a hurricane, which honestly off the coast of Florida is a super good guess, but this
Yeah.
is Charybdis, and so we are getting introduced to Charybdis, and then I don't know if it's Scylla or Skyla.
I looked it up.
Thank goodness. This one I don't know.
If the first recommended YouTube video on pronunciation is correct, I like to just say the level, I'm
Yes.
not doing deep dives here, people. I'm sorry. It is Scylla. It is
Scylla.
a silent
Okay.
sea.
Okay.
Yes. And I Charybdis is how it was pronounced. I never knew how to pronounce either of these. And so I looked it up because I was like, I don't want to mess this up. And I said it a couple of times in my head. And as soon as we started recording, I went, and it's gone. But I did remember Scylla.
Nice.
Because I had always said it in my brain as Skyla.
Sure.
And really didn't know what to do with. I was like,
Were you doing a
Charybdis. I was like,
It
I was
sounds like
doing
you're
the
trying to
thing
say a
where
Pokemon name.
where my brain, if it's a word like that, especially if it's a name, my brain will read it but not produce like the sounds. In my head. It'll just register like word and then like keep on going.
That's
so that's what my
funny.
brain did with this.
That's so funny. Well, Clarisse knows that it's Charybdis, and Annabeth immediately knows what that means.
Of course she does. She's the encyclopedia of...
Yeah. But she doesn't quite know that that's where they're at until Clarisse names it, right? Like, I think they would have been going a little farther before she put that together. And so Clarisse says that the only way to get into the Sea of Monsters is to sail between Charybdis and Scylla. Scylla, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm getting it. So, and she also explains, because Percy's like, just go around them, duh.
Right.
So if we do that, they'll just appear in front of you. So there's no way around it. You have to pick one of them, except that Annabeth mentions that Jason uses the clashing rocks, which is another gateway. And Clarisse explains that she can't blow apart the rocks with her cannons, but she thinks she can blow apart Charybdis with her cannons, which I think is a little bit overeager of her.
To me, her plan really landed as
Ares?
child of the god of war who has something to prove.
Yes.
Because, like, the true strategy...
I'll just blast my way through it.
Yeah, but, like, with something to prove, and also in general, I think Clarisse is, like, she wants to blow stuff up type character. She wants to choose violence when she can, I think is her, like, modus operandus. But also, I think her, like, chip on her shoulder, something to prove. She's trying to prove to Ares and to everyone else that she can do this, that she's the hero, and so she's going for, like, the big bang, the big boom, rather than
the big effect.
Like, rather than, like, I think almost maybe trying to do something that another hero has done. Like, I don't know if that's a piece of it, but, like, Jason went through the clashing rocks, so she's like, I'm gonna go this other route.
Yeah, and that is a little bit Luke in that sense of, like, I don't want to do the thing that the other heroes have already done. That's a good point. But she is very, very confident in this plan. Because Annabeth is, like, not a great plan, you know? And Percy's, like, also not a great plan.
And
like, then he's like,
also not a great plan.
Yeah, like, she's getting a lot of feedback here. Percy's like, what if we all go down under the ship and then Scylla can't, like, pick us off one by one?
Right.
And then Clarisse is like, then Scylla might grab the whole ship. And I'm like, has that ever happened? Like, do we...
Well, I'm trying to remember if, like, do we meet them in the Odyssey or something? It's been way too long since I've read the Odyssey.
Maybe.
I think we meet Scylla and... Ooh.
Charybdis.
Charybdis. I know we meet them in, like, an ancient Greek text.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't remember if it's the Odyssey, and I
I just
forgot
don't
to
know
look
if
it
we
up before
know
we
for sure
started.
if she can pick up a whole ship. Maybe she can. Somebody tell us in the comments. Like, yeah, she can. That's a valid
Yeah.
concern.
I think
Um,
she can. She's so big. She's got so many,
yeah, maybe
like,
with like multiple heads together, but it is like an
yes.
iron ship. So, it's just what's interesting to me is like what you're pointing out is like Clarisse really wants to go the battering ram route.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
she is reminding me of the Bulls at the beginning. Like she's just
Yeah.
like head down, full steam ahead, not listening to anyone else's ideas or
Mm-hmm.
creating plans B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I hear you. We'll do this until this happens. And it
Mm-hmm.
really is like down to the wire. She just keeps going straight ahead. And I think that's a
Yeah.
pitfall for sure of her approach here.
Yeah.
So she's just like, nope, I can't shoot Scylla. Maybe she'll pick up the ship. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
go straight to Charybdis and we are going to blow her up, is the idea.
Yeah.
And we're getting closer and we start to hear Charybdis more and more as she's sucking all the water and everything into her mouth
Yeah.
and then expelling it all again. It's like a weird form of breathing.
Right.
And Percy is also like timing, like ends up timing to see like it's about 3 minutes to go in, 3 minutes to go out. We
Yeah.
also learn that she has braces,
I know.
which is so weird and random. I think that's so funny.
I know.
That, like, who is the orthodontist?
Right.
Who's the god of teeth? Like, who is the orthodontist that put braces on
Yeah, who's
a
the, like,
gigantic
monster
sea monster?
orthodontist who's like kind of taking care
Like,
of everyone's
it's
dentistry
so big. I'm like,
needs.
did Hephaestus make these braces? Like, they
Right.
have to be huge, like gigantic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyway, just like a funny detail. But Annabeth does ask, like, can we use the wind thermos to get out of this? Which I think is really important because I think whenever you have something that's like a useful tool, it's important to explain like when you can't use it, like why.
Yeah. Well, and also I felt like it was a fun reminder of like, and this is Chekhov's wind thermos.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Yes, it will be used soon.
yeah, it will go off.
Yes.
And Annabeth
Yes.
also asks like about Percy controlling the water.
Yes.
And he tries, but Charybdis is too loud and powerful. So we also kind of learn, it's another kind of learning of like Percy's limitations, like he's the son of
Yes.
Poseidon, and he
He's
does
not there
not have
yet.
like eminent domain over.
Well, and just that this is book 2. Like, I think the
Yeah.
other piece that I think is cool about this moment, because it is related to the idea of a hurricane, like Annabeth is calling it a hurricane,
Yeah.
that, like, Percy is going to get to a place where maybe he could have done something, who knows,
Sure,
by
yeah,
book
yeah,
5,
yeah.
right? So I think it's also always cool to kind of put your character in a position where it's like, that's too far for them. That's too much. There's
Totally.
not really anything he can do in the face of Charybdis with his current, like, skill level as the
Yeah.
son of Poseidon.
Yep, absolutely. And this is when Percy and Beth and Tyson are like in agreement that they need a backup plan. What Clarisse is
Yeah.
trying to do isn't going to work. And Tyson says Annabeth is right and gives the reminder. He says engine's no good. And he says that there's pressure and that
Which
the pistons
he
need
has
fixing.
said, like, 4 pages ago.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm like, if we just listen to Tyson the
I
first time.
I know. I know. They have not learned yet.
They have
But
not
they need
learned
to
yet.
listen to Tyson. But before they can really like come up with their plan B or C or D, what Percy coins is the cosmic toilet
That's
flushed,
so funny.
which is
Yeah.
very funny. He's got to
Yeah.
have a sense of humor, and they
He's
are
gotta.
now in the whirlpool, and
Yes.
and so the already strained engine is now being strained even more by trying to like reverse so that they don't just get like sucked deep into the whirlpool and fully can't get out. And Clarisse is going full steam ahead on, now's our chance to fire into Charybdis, like just reverse so we don't get all the way sucked in. But she is focused on trying to get the cannons ready and like get all of the Confederate soldiers to fire.
But we're hearing the ship grinding as it's going in reverse.
Yep.
So, like, her plan is also putting an immense strain on a ship that we already know has mechanical issues.
Yep. And to make matters even worse, a zombie Confederate sailor bursts out of the hold and says that the boiler room is overheating, says she's gonna blow. Because I guess this ship is, because all ships have to be able to
all
go
ships
see our cruise ship rant.
Yes.
A couple chapters ago.
2 chapters ago.
And Clarisse, like, orders this soldier fix it, and he says that they can't, they're vaporizing in the heat. So we also are learning the limitations of these, like,
ghost
spirit ghost soldiers,
which I have questions about in a sec, but we'll get there.
And this is where Tyson steps up. He's already been in hero mode. He steps up to another level of hero mode by saying that he can fix it. And Annabeth is like, he's immune to fire. He knows mechanics. Because
Clarisse is surprised and not initially believing it. Kind of, she has the same, bias that everyone else has had so far.
Right. Exactly. And Clarisse tells Tyson to go. Percy protests. But Tyson says, only way, brother, which I gotta note. Tyson calling Percy brother. Something Percy has never openly called Tyson done, or even privately. And Tyson says, I will fix it. Be right back. Which, thankfully, we know that Tyson does not die. But those are classic, like, goodbye, you're never going to see me again lines.
Yes, totally.
Like, those are the lines where when you're watching a show, you go, okay, rest in peace.
Yep.
Like, we're not seeing you again. Thankfully, that is not the case. But Tyson goes, and then this is where we get that description of, like, what Charybdis looks like. We get the braces, but to read, like, a little bit of it, like, all Percy can see, like, he can't even see the entirety of Charybdis, just an enormous mouth with slimy lips and mossy teeth the size of rowboats. So for scale, if the teeth are rowboats and everything else is, like, magnitudes bigger than that, that's a giant mouth. And worse, somehow the teeth had braces. Again, where'd the braces come from?
Why? On the side? Why?
And they're bands of corroded, scummy metal with pieces of fish and driftwood and floating garbage stuck between them. So
super duper.
Yikes. Not great.
Fun.
And so Clarisse orders the captain to start firing into Charybdis's mouth.
Yes.
3 rounds go off. They don't all, like, fully hit the target. One gets an incisor, another does go into her gullet, another one just, like, hits one of the retaining bands, which is, like, these are legit bracers with somehow the world's biggest retaining bands.
And it flies back and knocks the Ares flag off its pole.
Yeah.
Which is, like, an ominous, when you're picturing that, it's like, that's an ominous moment.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And as Clarisse is ordering them to fire again, they feel that the vibrations on the deck change and the engine, like, sounds stronger and steadier. And Annabeth is like, Tyson did it. And we're like, oh, okay, maybe the ship is going to be safe. And Percy's like, okay, great. The engine is working better. We got to get out of here now. But Clarisse is...
That's the thing. Budging. Like, at every single moment, she just won't give up. Like, she is full steam ahead all the time, even after, as Percy's pointing out, like, these cannons don't appear to have really done anything. It's going to take a huge amount of firepower they don't have for Clarisse's plan to actually work. And if you imagine that what you're just seeing is a mouth, and it's that big, then, like, imagine the body that's attached to that mouth, and how much it would take to, like, take down that level of creature.
Absolutely. And basically, by Tyson going down into the engine room, he basically gave them enough time, preventing the ship from exploding and being sucked in because he got the
Yeah.
engines working in time. So the whirlpool has stopped because the mouth is snapped shut. But then what I guess gets sucked in must always leave.
Must always. Yep.
And the mouth explodes open, spitting out a wall of water and just ejecting everything that was inedible, including the cannonball that got
Yep.
shot in. So
Yep.
just kind of showing that like none of these cannonballs were in any way really actually effective.
Like hurting, yeah.
Yeah.
Hurting Charybdis. And they're thrown back on a wave that must have been 40 feet high, which is a
Massive.
huge, insurmountable wave. Like, really
Yeah.
scary high wave.
Yeah. Yeah. But they do and Percy is using his willpower to keep the ship from
Yes.
capsizing, so he is able to use some of his like Child of Poseidon to help them out. He's not completely he's not rendered completely useless by Charybdis. Like he still's got some of his stuff. And they're spinning out of control, but they are hurtling towards the cliffs on the opposite side of the strait.
And we know who's waiting there.
We do indeed. And another Confederate sailor comes out saying that the engine is about to blow, and this is where I think Percy's been worried about Tyson this whole time, but I think maybe the engine being like, okay, it's sounding better. I think Tyson might be okay.
Yeah.
Getting to like the engine's about to blow again. Percy is worried about Tyson.
Yes.
Like
Naturally.
once more. Yeah. And the captain is telling everyone that they just have to abandon ship. The hull is cracking, and
They just keep saying no.
Yep. And
like at every turn.
And enter Scylla.
Yes, enter Scylla.
And Scylla starts picking off sailors one by one, lightning fast, like so quick that Percy can't even really process it.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine that at this point, Percy's like demigod battle ADHD is like locked in, and like he's got that power set engaged, and even then it is too fast for him. He cannot register like what's happening.
Totally. I have two things here.
Yes.
Okay. Number one, more reptiles. Multi-headed reptiles.
Yes.
We just can't get rid of the reptile. The multi-reptile, multi-headed reptile. It is just all over this book. And I was just like, more?
I do think there may be, this is like, note for maybe another more kind of broader analysis, but like Sea of Monsters in the book of like, oh, we're expecting to encounter all these monsters. Like, I do think as humans, not all cultures and societies, but many do like, and nowadays like view like snakes and reptilian things as like monsters and scary and monstrous. And so
we talked about that in season 1.
Yeah, there is like the number of them. I think for that reason, makes sense why they're making a big appearance.
What's interesting is like we're leaving the year of the snake and entering the year of the horse right now, and I think like that snake is more about like shedding and transformation,
right?
So it's interesting the ways that they show up as like lightning fast scary snake, and then like like wisdom gaining slower transformation snake. Like I think it's a little bit culturally dependent, maybe location dependent. And then also like just the way that things can have different meanings. But the second thing is, I wouldn't have this beef if they hadn't said that they're evaporating. Okay, so our ghost soldiers are evaporating from the steam in the engine room. Yes, we know this?
Yes.
How do they have enough substance for Scylla to pick them up then?
I know. I think she's just munching on bones. Maybe. But they're evaporating.
Bones don't evaporate.
Yeah.
Now, clearly they're formed enough that they can have an effect on physical objects around them.
Right.
Because they're doing tasks on the ship.
Wait,
so maybe they're like formed enough to do that, and then just
my
the
theory
steam evaporates
of an explanation, because they're so quick, because Scylla's so quick with it, is that like in the like head snap around it, maybe they do immediately evaporate because like they essentially kind of die again. Because I think it's like the steam. I don't know. Unless maybe it's a particular like they just can't be around steam, and otherwise
I'm
they're
assuming
fine.
the heat is what's evaporating them in the engine room. I'm just saying that like if they are so,
But like the engine room at that point is so bad that like the demigods can't go into it. Like they couldn't survive it. Like Tyson is the only one.
but they wouldn't evaporate. They
Right,
would just like
exactly.
die.
But I think evaporation is these soldiers' way of like dying a second time.
Sure, sure, sure.
And
I
so I
just was
wonder,
confused. I don't have an answer, and it's
yeah.
fine. But I'm confused about the substance that these ghosts are
Oh,
made of,
yes.
and
Yes.
how firm that is or not at different points in the story.
No,
That is my question.
yes, I had a similar question and a similar wondering. The best answer that I came to for myself so I could like move on in the chapter was like
Yeah,
she snaps them up and they basically die slash evaporate again. And
sure.
maybe that's what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I felt that it was
Some
also
way.
equally unclear. It was
Yeah.
reminding me of like the Stymphalian birds of like,
Yeah,
okay, they go
that's
into
another
dust,
one.
but then they're solid enough to like become a meal. So how's that working? Like, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. These are important.
These are the
You know, we have really important questions about the process of death and dying in this book, particularly for monsters or ghosts.
and well, which is a theme like with Talia and the tree and like that question of like
Yeah,
where does her soul exist? Like
true,
how
true.
death and dying works is
Yes,
I think a big theme slash question of this book
in this book.
for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And so they're now facing the threat of Scylla, and Percy wants everyone to get below, but Clarisse is like, below deck is entirely in flames. That's not an
Yeah.
option. Annabeth thankfully is thinking quickly, and she's like, lifeboats. We just, again, abandoned ship. They're lifeboats. Let's get on them.
Which did work
And
pretty well the last time that we tried
it did,
this.
and she brings up like the thermos, and that like they can maybe use that to have the lifeboats get them quickly enough away from the cliffs and like escape this. And but Percy is remembering that Tyson is still below deck in the flames and is like, we cannot leave him. And so he tells Annabeth to get to the other boat. He gives Annabeth a thermos, so Chekhov's thermos is moved from Percy to Annabeth. Just tracking that.
And Annabeth, like, who has not used it before, was not instructed about it, and doesn't maybe fully understand it as much. Like, even Tyson seems to have a better understanding based on giving it to Percy.
And Percy says that he will get Tyson, and he runs for the boiler room hatch when all of a sudden his feet aren't touching the deck anymore.
Exactly what you don't want to happen.
Yep, he is flying straight up because Scylla has caught him by the knapsack, which I realized we didn't make a note that at the beginning of this chapter, like after like going to sleep, when he wakes up, he packs up his knapsack, takes it with him because he's like, I've got a feeling I'm not spending another night on this boat, which I made a note of like, we have learned, we're continuing the train of we've learned from.
Yes, they keep doing that well. And also maybe, the first book showed off Percy's intuition a lot better than this one, but maybe there's a hint of that there too.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing of like, it kind of seems like it's maybe his knapsack that does him in this moment, because that's what like she's grabbing him by.
But it also saves him, because if he didn't have the knapsack, then I think she would have just grabbed his body.
Yeah.
So I think it saves him.
Yeah, that's true. And he, though, thankfully, because he's already got Riptide out, thinks quickly. Doesn't even really think, just acts quickly without thinking. Jabs her eye, and she grunts and drops him. So he is free, but he's falling from. At this point, I mean, if it's lightning quick that she grabs them, like he's incredibly.
And they're
100
feet up, like yeah,
he's
pretty high up there.
Yeah, and oh yeah, because he does say he was about 100 feet in the air, so he must have been close. Like she moved so quickly that he was close to the top, and he's falling, and it's like he doesn't even have enough time to consider like, I'm falling, because the CSS Birmingham explodes below him.
Yes.
The engine room, which was gonna blow, blew, and this description. I think because there are like people on board, or like, the description of sending chunks of ironclad flying in either direction, I was like, there were people. I don't like the chunks. When it's like, I know there aren't chunks of people, but
right. Just that word.
That word
I get that.
Visceral for me this time around.
But I think this is where I'm saying I think the knapsack double saves Percy, because it both saves him from being chomped up by Scylla, but then also him getting picked up by Scylla saves him because he was about to go down into the engine room. He is not going to survive that explosion if he goes down there. Like, that is something that is true that Annabeth says earlier, is that the heat alone is going to kill him. Of course, a big kaboom explosion would kill him. And so, he getting picked up by the sea monster is kind of his saving grace here a little bit. Or cliff monster.
In a weird way, because I don't know at this point if he would have been sent to Calypso, or if he would have just...
I was thinking about that. Like,
it would have been
I was wondering,
lights out.
Yeah, would we have met Calypso sooner, or would he just... That's the end for Percy.
Yeah. But as Percy's
and therefore Grover?
Oh gosh, yeah. And
right?
Therefore Grover. Yeah.
Polyphemus is just like, honey pie.
Yeah, I know. What happened?
Why are you so furry? Wait, what?
What? And as Percy's yelling for Tyson, because very understandably, in seeing the ship explode, he now believes that Tyson has died. Yep. He is able to see that the lifeboats had managed to get away from the ship, but not very far. And with the flaming wreckage raining down, he's kind of like not feeling optimistic about their ability to like escape without being like harmed by the wreckage, until Chekhov's Hermes thermos. Goes off, because there's a different kind of explosion. The sound of Hermes' magic thermos being opened a little too far. So this is like to your point about Annabeth, I don't think fully understanding, like, you just a teensy turn, not a big turn. Or maybe this was, I don't remember if we actually know, or maybe this was Clarisse, like, I don't remember. It's handed to Annabeth, so I'd assume it's Annabeth.
I'm thinking it's Annabeth.
And white sheets of wind blast in every direction, scattering the lifeboats, lifting Percy out of his free fall and propelling him across the ocean. So this is like sheets of wind, it feels like, that are like the size of the water, like the wave that was like coming up. It kind of feels
like this should be a Calypso thing. Like the fact that Annabeth ends up with Percy still at the end of this, to me, we can talk about that next chapter, but like makes no sense. Like, that's not how I read what is happening here. No, there's definitely, someone intervened to help out, because Percy loses consciousness at the end of this chapter. It's not like he's awake to be able to control where Annabeth is going and where he's going, and use the sea to help them see or notice that.
He just gets spun in the air, conked in the head by something, hits the water with a crash that would have broken every bone in his body had he not been the son of the sea god. And the last thing he remembers is sinking in a burning sea, knowing that Tyson was gone forever, and wishing that he were able to drown, which is where we end the chapter. Again, the dark tone of this book.
Though this is definitely one of our lowest moments so far, maybe our lowest moment so far for our heroes. I think that's accurate, because we think Tyson is dead. Percy is wishing that he could be dead. Because he feels so sad about losing Tyson. Mm-hmm. And we have been blown away to who knows where with who knows who. Near us. So, this is a very dire moment for our heroes. And also, if we're thinking about the main character of the story, Clarisse, it is a moment of failure. And we have been warned what will happen if she fails. And so I think for every single character, Annabeth might be like the most okay of everyone, in the sense of like, was not picked up by Scylla, takes an action to get them out of safety, but everyone's in kind of a bad spot at the end here.
Yeah, they really are, and it feels like it's kind of only like luck and maybe probably some intervention from the gods that like probably places them in like not the worst of worst case scenarios.
Right.
That otherwise.
And mind you, we still have a time clock. Like this might be the most packed chapter so far. I think. Like so much happens in this chapter. We learn so much, we experience so much, we go pretty far in through the course of the chapter, like even in terms of that initial like how did we sail this far, and then we get into the Sea of Monsters. But speaking of which, as far as we know, we are now in the Sea of Monsters. And that is going to be interesting, exciting, strange, scary, weird. And now we get to spend a little bit of time navigating these uncharted waters.
We do. And the thing that I was thinking of as this chapter leaves off with us believing that Tyson has died, although, again, thank goodness, you know, he hasn't in reality, that I do feel like that fits with this book having a darker tone. And I also then just couldn't help but think of then the Titan's Curse, where we do for the first time actually lose, like a child does die. And it is a camper who we meet and who we fall in love with and who does not survive a quest. And that it almost, I couldn't help but feel like the moment where we think as the reader that Tyson has died feels almost like it's like Rick Riordan is kind of soft launching us into like, okay, like be ready emotionally for like not all of the characters are going to survive this story.
And also making, I think, Bianca's death like less predictable, because I think a lot of the time you're used to like main characters, especially ones you've just been introduced to, like oh yeah, they're gonna survive. Like I want to believe, and I'll believe that Tyson's alive even if Percy doesn't. So I think that making Tyson not die in this situation actually makes you, it both sort of prepares you, and then it also kind of tricks you so that you're not thinking he's gonna do that next book.
Yeah, especially I think that combined with this book ending with Talia coming back. And then the next book we meet Bianca, a child of the big three. Yeah. You know, like one of the, like our first time, in addition to Nico, meeting a child of Hades, like you really don't think as a reader that like she is a character who could die out of all of the characters, like who could die. So yeah, it is very unexpected when that happens. But I think the Sea of Monsters having so much of a darker tone than the Lightning Thief does, I do think is an important transition into like the stakes are going to continue to get higher, and that the threats are real, and like campers will die, and that will happen, and I think it makes all of the stakes feel incredibly real in these books.
I think it starts with the pit scorpion. I think that like from that moment forward, mortal peril is on the table. Like I feel like that.
Yeah, totally.
And especially taking Chiron out of play in this book, I think. Yes. Because he's the only reason Percy survives that at the end of Lightning Thief. I think that's like the point where we start to be like, okay, demigods are in mortal peril. That's part of the deal.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's a good important thing. Thinking about like themes across the books. Anything else from this chapter?
I don't think so. Yeah, I guess except for in the explosion, all of the Confederate soldiers. I think the captain. Does the captain survive? I don't remember.
Well, he's been picked up by Scylla.
Oh, yeah, he has. I couldn't remember if any of them survived with Clarisse.
I think some of them do, like in the
I think some
books.
of them do. We have not, unfortunately, seen the last of them. Yeah. So, but the
ship, certainly.
Yes, the ship
is done.
And, but yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Any last final thoughts from you?
No, it's just what I said. It's a lot that happens here. It's a big chapter.
It is,
and it ends with a big bang. So
Yeah.
Yes. Well, then we will see you all next time when we read Sea of Monsters Chapter 12. We check in to CC's Spa and Resort. Bye.
Bye.